Hey friends, welcome back to CodeSet Academy. Again in this video, we are going to be dealing with one of the most important topics in JavaScript, array methods. Now what are array methods? Array methods are basically functions or methods in JavaScript that we can use to manipulate an array. And basic operations that we can do to manipulate an array can be, you can add an item to an existing array, or you can remove an item from an existing array, right? And so we'll look at some of these examples, but before then, you're probably asking, why do we need arrays in web application? So I'm going to go to, this is Amazon. Let me go to Amazon and show you. Now look at this. This is a list of products on Amazon product page, right? And you can see that each product has its unique details, like its name, descriptions, ratings, prices, and all of that, right? So this is a product page, and this is a list of products, right? So anywhere you see a list, right, in JavaScript, it's an array, right? Just in case I use it interchangeably, a list, the same thing with an array, all right? Okay, so this is an array of products here. So this is an example or one way that we can render an array in a web application. Okay, now let's take a look at another one. This is a table, and this table is showing details of different companies, their contact, and their country. So this is just a table, and each row represents a company's detail, right? That's the name of the company, the contact, and the country. So this is also a list of companies, right, rendered on this table. So there are different ways that we can, present our array in a web application. So let's get started and see some of the methods that we are going to learn today. Now the first one is going to be push, and the other one is going to be pop, and the other one is going to be shift, and the other one is going to be on shift, right? Okay, and then we're going to learn splice. Okay, now we're going to learn map. We're also going to learn filter, the filter method, and lastly we're going to learn find. Okay, we're going to learn and we're going to do an example of each of them, and let's see how it works. All right, again, before you start coding, please, it may get to a point where everything looks confusing, but don't worry, trust me, just follow through, make sure you're getting it, at least it's working. Even if you don't understand it fully for now, I promise you, you understand it better. It will become clearer, especially when we get into real world projects, okay? But at least understand the concepts, okay? Understand the concept. Okay, let's get started. Now let's create an array, and we're going to do some basic manipulations around that array. Okay, the first one we're going to do, instead of us creating a new array, let's just copy this one that we already had in the previous class, okay? We already did this in the previous class, so there's no need to recreate a new one. So if you were in the previous, if you watched the previous video, you can just copy it, and then you can continue from there. And again, then, if you get confused at any point in this video, please make reference to the GitHub link that I've dropped in the description. All right, thank you. Now let's first of all print out. Let's print out this array name. So I'm going to say console.log. Okay, array names. Now I'm printing out array names, and we have this, right, exactly the way we have it here. But then we want to use push. So why do we need push? For some reasons, you want to add another item to the array. You want to add a new product to the product inventory or something like that. Or maybe you have a school management system, and a new student just joined the class. Remember, a class is like a list of students, all right? So a new student just joined the class, and you want to add the student details to that list. You can use push. So let's see how to use it. To use it, you write down the array first, then you do dot push. Okay, make sure you do dot push, and then you open your parentheses, and then it takes in an argument, And the argument it takes in the new item you want to pass. Remember, it's another name of a person. So let's add Daniel here. So I'm going to add Daniel. Right. So I've pushed Daniel into this. It means this array now has it now has 5 items, right? But it would not show until I print it out. So I have to print out the new value. To print out the new value, I'm going to say console.log array names, right? And once I print out the new value, you will see Daniel in the new one. Of course, you can see it here. And this one, 201 here, is for the previous value of the array. Now that's for push. Now let's do pop. Pop. We're going to say array names.pop. We want to remove the last person. So, and if you look at this array, the last person here is Raphael, right? But after we added Daniel, Daniel is now the last person. So we want to remove the last person. So it's also going to be Daniel. But remember, pop removes the last item. So there's no need to pass in an argument because it removes the last item, right? So we're going to do console.log. And we're going to pass in the array names here. And then you see that we do not have Daniel here anymore. Okay, so that's pop. The next one we're going to do is on shifts. Now, how does shift work? Shift also works like pop, just that shifts removes the first item while pop removes the last item. So we're going to say array names dot shifts, right? We're going to do this. I'm going to say console.log array names, save. It's going to remove the first item, which is Michael, and then we see that Michael is no longer in the list. We have Gabriel, Israel, and Raphael. And now the next one is on shift rather. So let's see how we can do on shift. So what's on shift? On shift is when you want to add an item to the array, just like push. But what push does is that it adds an item, right, to the back, that's to the last item of the array. But on shift will add it at the first item, at the first point, right, at the first index. So it's add it at the front, while push adds it to the back. Is it clear? I hope it's clear. Okay, so I'm going to say array names dots on shift, right? I'm going to pass in the new value here. Let me pass in a value Paul. I'm going to say Paul, and then I'll save my work. And at this point, I want to console the new value of array, and I'm going to say array names, and then I have it here. Say, you see, Paul is now the first item in the array. Okay, so that's it. So now let's look at splice. For some reasons, you want to remove an item from an array, but you don't want to remove the first item, neither do you want to remove the last item. You probably want to remove one of the items at the center, right? So now we have how many items in this array? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I want to remove Gabriel, right? Remember that pop removes the last, while shift removes the first. But this time around, I don't want to use pop because I don't want to remove the first or the last. I don't want to use pop, and I don't want to use shift too. So I want to remove Gabriel. Okay. For some reason, I'm going to come here. I'll say array names dot splice, and then you pass in, right? You pass in two. It takes in 2 arguments. The first argument is asking you, how many elements do you want to remove? I want to remove just one element, and that is Gabriel. He's asking me now, what position do you want to remove? And remember, this is Gabriel. Gabriel is position 1. Remember that in JavaScript, the array starts from index 0. So this is 0, 1. So I want to remove position 1, and I want to remove only one item. So I'll come here. I want to remove one item at position 1. So when I save this, and I come here, and I do console.log, and then I pass in array names here, and I see Gabriel will no longer be there. You see Gabriel is gone. And look at this. What if I say I want to remove 2 elements at position 1? So it's going to remove Gabriel and Israel. So I'm going to say 2 elements at position 1, and you see it has removed, right? You see, sorry, it's this way. So it's going to remove Gabriel and Israel. So this one is saying 2 elements. This one is saying at what position. Okay, the first one is asking what position do you want to remove. This one is asking how many elements do you want to remove. So that's how splice works. So the other one we're going to deal with is the next one is what? Is map. Now what is map? For some reason you want to just go through or iterate through all the items in that list or in that array. For example, you want to go through each student in a class and shake them or something, or you want to go through each student in a class to get their names. Okay, that's an example of mapping, or something like that. So to map through every student in the class, remember this guy, how many students? Paul and Raphael. Okay, at this point let's just do something. Let me add another name. So I'm going to say array names dot push. Let me add another name. So I'm going to say Peter here, and then I'm going to say console.log array names. So we have Peter has joined us in the list of names, and let me do a basic map operation and let's see what map does. So map, we can say array names dot map, okay, dot map, and then map takes in an argument. So what argument is it taking? So we're going to say item. So I'm going to say name. I call it name, right? Each name. So this is saying, remember I said I want to map through all of, I want to map through the array. I want to iterate through the array, which also means I want to go through each item in the array. So I'm saying I'm passing this argument to represent each item. Do you see that? This argument that I'm passing represents each argument. Again, I said it may not look clear at this point, but don't worry, you get it. So I want to say console.log, right? Console.log each item name. So I come here and it's going to print out Paul, Raphael, and Peter, right? So this is basically what map can do. And I can decide to add maybe a suffix to all of them. So I can say console.log name plus s, right? Or I can say Peterson, son, like son suffix. So when I come here, you see Paulson, Raphaelson, Peterson. You see how we're able to iterate through all the items in the array and add a suffix to each of the item, right? That's a very easy way of doing it. Imagine just one line of code, and even if we had about 1,000 items in that list, it's still going to do the same thing in a very short time. You can imagine you having to manually type son for the entire names, but just by this one line of code you did it, right? So that's it. So let's look at another one, which is filter. What does filter do? Filter goes through or iterates through a list or an array and checks for a condition, and you can use that condition to do something. Okay, and a filter returns back an array. Now look at this. We have Paulson, Peterson, and yeah, it has this, right? It has this. Now let's do something. Now for this reason, I'm going to create a new array. Let's just do something. Let me create a new array. Let me just copy this array here. going to call this let's new array names equal to let me paste this here. Now good, I want to filter through all this, right? You see that there's something common with all these names. They all end with el, el, el. For some reason I want to add another one that does not end with el. I want to add one that ends with something else, like I can say Jacob, right? So that's it. So I want to filter through this and return all these items that only ends with L. You know, that's what filter can do. So I want to iterate through each item and look for the one that does not end with L, and I will return only the ones that ends with L. So that's what filter can do. To do that, we're going to say array names, right, dot filter, array names dot filter, and we're going to say this. It's going to take an argument. So we're going to say name again, right? And then we come here and say name, right? Name. Now look at it. I want to return only the name that ends with EL. Only the name that ends with EL. So I'm going to say filter takes in an argument, and each argument represents each item, okay? It represents each item per index. We're going to say, now for each item, right, if, remember it's a conditional, it takes in a condition too. So if this ends with, and note that ends with is an inbuilt method in JavaScript for string, and this is a string data type, right? So if ends with what? If ends with L, okay, and I save my work. But first of all, we need to print out this thing. So how do we print out? Let's save it inside another variable. So I'm going to say save it in a variable called results, and I'll come here and then console.log results. So I'm going to console.log results and then do this. So you see that I have Paul and Raphael ends with L. Why am I getting Paul and Raphael? Why am I getting Paul and Raphael? Ends with L. Okay, sorry, I am using array names. I should rather use this new guy. That's a mistake, sorry about that. Right, okay, correct. When I come here, you see I have Michael, Gabriel, Israel, Raphael, and Daniel, okay? I don't have Jacob, right? It's because of the condition that I did here. But if I say, okay, for each name that does not end with L, so do that does not, I will just add this, right, this sign, this exclamation mark sign, and save my work. It's going to print out only Jacob, right? And when I save my work, you see that we only have Jacob here. And remember that filter method returns an array. Good, and we have it like this. Now, that's it. So I'm going to remove this so that it returns only names that end with L. So I'll do this and we have this back. Now, the last method we're going to be learning about is the find method. It's also similar to the filter method, just that the filter method returns an array while the find method returns an item, just an item, okay? So I want to do the same thing, so I will just copy this. Or I don't need to copy this, let me just change this thing. It's because the filter returns an array while the find returns an item. Question is this: what if more than one item? What if more than one item meets the condition in the find method? It's going to return only the first one. All right. So remember, this is returning a list. So if I change this to find, right, and then save my work, guess what it's going to return? It's going to return only Michael. Do you see that? So let me comment this guy so that it can be clear. It's going to return only Michael. But when I change it back to filter, it's going to return all the items that ends with an L. You see that? So basically, this is how array methods work. Please, I hope you understand. And if you don't understand, please make sure to reach out to me in the comment section. I am going to respond. Thank you very much and have a blessed day. And also remember that in case you got value from this video, please do well to like and subscribe. Thank you and have a blessed day.